Minecraft is a fascinating game. Wait a minute. Does that sound familiar? That's right. This is my list. I am following in the footsteps of one Mr. Cubfan135. He's got a great video series going on of all the improvements and ideas he has for Minecraft, and I decided to add a few of my own. He has the list. This is just my list. I think his list is much more comprehensive, and the only reason I was inspired to make mine is I'm much more of a casual type thing, and some of the ideas he has, I think, make a lot of sense for people who play a lot more, or that are even full-timers, like on YouTube or whatever. However, this is not about putting any shame or blame or bad words on Cubfed's list, because it's absolutely excellent and inspired this video. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a couple of things today. 2 things I agree with him on, 1 I don't, and 2 things that are completely different. As I was coming up with these, more and more ideas just kept flowing, and I can see with a guy as smart as Cub why something like this is a fun project. So, first things first, bada boom, the sniffers should sniff up the roses, and I will put an image on screen now. These 2 old textures, he breaks it down pretty well in his video. They're the old textures for the Minecraft rose, and this, I think, since it's an ancient flower in the code, the blue and the red, I think these guys should sniff them up. However, it should be extremely rare, and the reason why is because down here, I just placed an ancient city underneath my flat world, but the rose will come in handy down here. But, however, I do want to point out, I do think his idea of mob heads in the ancient city and all mob heads. We really should have all mob heads available. It's the number one thing I always add to all my worlds. It's just a fun thing to collect. No matter what you do with them, you can decorate, just collecting them. I mean, they're absolutely wonderful that way. However, his idea for having trial chambers in the city, yeah, so if you come down here, because you get extra, I have so many in my survival world, I have so many extra trial keys, and rather than going and finding ancient, or more trial chambers and getting more and more keys, having a place just to spend them, and the trial chamber looks so good in the ancient city, so yeah, you would get 100% guaranteed of a mob head, and these would be all the mob heads in the game. Another reason it makes sense to get mob heads from these trial chambers in the ancient city is all this skulk. This is all mobs that are killed in here, and the warden, there's all the soul torches, soul fire, all this and that. There's even mob heads here, so it fits right in the game. But it makes sense for the warden, as he's got like the soul things in his chest as well. If you want to see a more comprehensive deep dive into that, I would recommend Cub's video, as he breaks this down really well on why this makes sense to have all the mob heads be able to be found in ancient cities. It's a perfect kind of unique item for these, because I myself find it difficult to want to explore these things. The time versus the reward just isn't really there for me. But something like mob heads I would totally do. And with that being said, we head inside. Now, what I was saying before about the sniffers sniffing up these roses, since they're an ancient texture, this is the ancient city and the warden. Perhaps the warden has his own vault. So in this structure underneath you, it's got all the different demonstrations of redstone, but when you come down here, you will see somewhere around here, not this, but a better looking door than this. This was just my attempt at making one. Well, all the trial chambers that are out in the actual ancient city will require the normal keys. Maybe one ominous one somewhere in the ancient city, but to get into the warden's vault, you need an ominous key. And when you add it in, these would simply break, and this would be the Warden's Vault. And here you see some mob heads displayed, and there'd be an empty flower pot. This was just an idea of some loot. Oh, this should also be another spot you can get reinforced deep slate, but as an actual way to get it, because it is, well, the design is really cool with the portal here. I don't want to really go anywhere just to look at a block. You know what I mean? I want it to be able to use it. So this would be a spot you could actually get reinforced deep slate, and I think it should be quite a bit of it. However, I'll explain why I don't think that's such a huge deal. But yeah, this is the Warden's Vault, and since we have a painting, this actually is kind of reminiscent of the Rose. So in here he'd have some mob heads from, you know, mobs you can't normally get, and there'd be some in his vault. Now, taking anything from this chest, or maybe there would just be a Shrieker in here, it would automatically summon a Warden, and he would be instantly angry at you. However, that's where this ancient rose comes in. If you place the ancient red or blue rose in the flower pot in his vault, he will stop being angry at you for a while and focus on sniffing this flower, as it would be like a scent he remembers or something. Now this, it wouldn't be forever. This is literally just enough time. It's not really taming the Warden. What it is a momentary distraction. Like once he would sniff, and then he would be drawn to that flower for a bit. Enough time for you to basically run out of here and try to get to cover. Maybe like 5 seconds. Because once he's done with that, he's still not going to want you around his stuff. And so you still have to get away and run away as fast as you can while he's angry at you. But that's kind of the idea there. Now, if there's a structure like that, with that kind of danger and peril included, the reason I don't think it is such a big deal to get this reinforced deep slate from there is because, hang on, once you bring it back up to the surface, let's say you want to build with it, that's the only place you can get it is in his vault. And you still have to be careful when placing it, because one misplaced, that block is there forever. You can't actually move it. You know, do this just to show. But yeah, you can't move it, and in survival, you can't actually break it either. So this reinforced deep slate, this is just a way to get it and use it in the overworld where you see fit. However, the buff is it still holds the same properties of being immovable and unable to be pushed, so you'd have to be careful when placing it. Now, let's move on to something that I actually disagree with Cub and his list. Over to another world. Ah, yes, the Phantom. Everyone's favorite mob. Now, he said these should be in the end, and I personally think, I know it's one of the most hated mobs in Minecraft, but I think the hate is overdone. The Phantom, to me, is one of the easiest mobs in the game to avoid. It spawns every 3 days, and all you have to do is sleep once in those 3 days, which equates to a Minecraft day is 10 minutes, a night is 10, which means you have to, every 50 minutes, you have to sleep just once, which sleeping takes 5.05 seconds. So 5 seconds every 50 minutes to avoid these things. I find it easy. I don't know, it might be because when I build, I tend to build, I don't like building at night because I find it hard to see depending on the textures, exactly how it looks. So I just prefer to see it because I can see more of a building in the daytime. Yeah, I'm in creative in my survival world right now because I just wanted to show this off. But I think the problem with the Phantom is we don't use it correctly. You can get feather falling potions or slow falling, one of those two in the potions, and then it's also used to repair Elytra if it completely breaks. But most people put mending on their Elytra and never have to think about it. Well, I have some solutions, and even in this little segment I'm disagreeing with Cub, I agree with him about one thing: invisible item frames. Which, how do we make it? Just like this. Just like a regular item frame. Bada boom, we get a phantom item frame. And what would that, without an item, it would just look like a blank square. You know, there's our original item frame. This, it'd just be a blank square. You put an item in it, and the frame disappears, and you are just left with the item. And I think this is a perfect compromise. However, that's not all we can do with phantoms. Another thing we can do. Now, phantoms, I think they'd actually be kind of helpful early game. And one thing we should definitely have in this game, since we have the turtle helmet, there should be a piece of armor. Think kind of early game. The turtle, when you're wearing the turtle helmet, yeah, you get a little bit of water breathing, respiration, what have you. But yeah, there should be a unique type of armor depending on, you know, based on early game exploration that you can get on each thing. And for the Phantom, still using the Phantom membrane, if we go like this, we could get pants, Phantom membrane pants that have feather falling too. Now that's kind of, the reason I thought of this is it's a unique thing specific to the Phantom, and it'd be the only style pants that have feather falling as opposed to having boots or something. I was also thinking to complete this armor set for the boots, if you made boots out of like rabbit's feet or rabbit hide, they'd have swiftness on them. Yeah, in the middle of trying to explain all this new Phantom stuff, one thing I think the game would greatly be improved by is if there was a unique piece of armor based on different animals in the kind of early game. Last thing with the Phantoms would be, and this is a big one, some people I'm sure are not going to like this, but no more mending on Elytra. From now on, you repair Elytra only with Phantom membranes. However, and then I just threw away my example one. This is why I didn't want to do it in my survival world, because I make mistakes. But yeah, no more mending on Elytra, as you would only repair it with Phantom membranes. However, this wouldn't cost any XP or anything. It would literally just be putting your Elytra and then putting the Phantom membranes right next to it, and it'd repair it. No XP costs, no anvils or anything. Still have unbreaking, and these are the wrong ones, as I put the wrong ones, threw the wrong ones away, but... Oh, and one other thing. A very, very quick thing. Armor stands should have arms. Really simple. I think it just makes sense. Throw this away. As, well, they are nice for displaying armor. They're equally nice for displaying tools. And I think this is a really nice, simple change. I would like to have something like the Armor Stand book. However, just having the ability to display tools, have them holding things, maybe a limited amount of poses or something if you right-click on them. But yeah, Armor Stand should have arms just so you can display tools. Now, let's get out of this world before I screw something up with it. And for the final couple of things on my list, I apologize as I didn't write any of this down. I've been writing the ideas down, but I'm kind of freewheeling on the talky bits. So if I seem sporadic, that is by the design of not having a design. However, 2 more ideas. So we have the pottery shards, correct? Well, let's take some out and make a decorated pot. That gives us a decorated pot. I think when making a decorated pot, you should be able to dye it. And what that would do is it would simply dye this color here, similar to how terracotta is dyed. Since this is basically like terracotta looking, the part that is the design would be dyed in such a way as to mimic, this is blue terracotta, blue dye. It would mimic the same color pattern. This is just a thing to further customize. It's kind of a natural sort of thing to do. I think the best way to do it is through crafting it how I just showed. You take out your sherd, and bam. And then you would have, the decorated pot with the dyed bit. That, or if you could shift right click or something. Obviously, just right clicking puts stuff in the pot, but shift right clicking may be another way. But I think this makes the most almost intuitive sense. However, let me know in the comments below if you disagree. But that's a small little change. This is just a further kind of tiny little improvement. Much like armor stands having arms. Just something simple. Now, okay, it isn't quite. The last thing I was thinking, when it is a full moon, wolves should howl. The howl should be able to be heard within 32 or 64 blocks. I'm not sure which is better. But with the new wolf variants, this would help in the exploration aspect. If you're in like a old taiga or any of the biomes where you're in a spot it's hard to see them, if you could hear them howling when it's a full moon, if you're paying attention, that could help you locate some wolves in your world, thus making it easier to, find the types you're after as well. Conversely, if you don't hear them howl, that means they're probably not in your area. But I think having wolves howl, and only having them howl at a full moon, that way it's more of a rare event type thing. It also adds immersion. This is another minor little update. However, all that being said, I've been Evernoob, and this is the start of my series, My List. And I've got a lot more ideas. I probably will write out things a lot more, as, I seem not to be able to talk. See, right, even at the end. Just can't get it right, but hopefully you enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I will see you further on. And special thanks and shout out to Cub for coming up with his series that inspired this one. So, all the ideas and more discussions to be had. However, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.